Hey everybody! In today's video with this fabulous Lighthouse and Sailboat cover plate, I'm going to show you something fun to do with paper piecing. So I cut this out of a piece of pitch black cardstock, the best black cardstock in the world. And as soon as it went through my die cutting machine, I stuck my Misty sticky mat to the back. And I'm using my reverse action tweezers to just make sure that each little piece is adhered to that sticky mat before I lift the die off. I do this with paper piecing all the time. It makes it so much easier. And I'm using a coloring book today for the background. I picked a very tight, busy pattern, which is what you'll want. This die is very bold, but you'll still want to see a lot of that pattern in the background. So I just took one of these coloring book pages and ran it through my die cutting machine, took a second sticky mat and put that on the back, and I'm doing the same thing, just lightly pressing down with my reverse action tweezers to make sure that everything is stuck to that sticky mat. This is stickier than press and seal, and so I've come to prefer this as a method for paper piecing. You can move the little pieces around with your tweezers if they're a little bit out of place, but man, does this make paper piecing easier. It's just some of the shapes are kind of weird and it's hard to tell, and if they're just in a jumble on your desk, it's going to take forever to piece your card together. So now remove the main part of the frame. These are sized for A2 cards, so it's going to cover an entire card front. I love that about these dies. It makes just making a full card so clean and easy. It's just one die, takes up the whole space. Now, when you're lifting it up, you want to make sure and not stretch the fibers of the paper in that frame. You don't want to distort it because the pieces that you'll be piecing into it are going to need to fit in that space. And if the paper is stretched, and it can get stretched, then that's not going to work. So make sure you're not stretching your frame. Now I will fold a white card base. I like top folding cards. This happens to be a vertically oriented cover plate, so that works perfectly for me. And when you're doing this, you will want to use precision glue, not a tape runner, not double-sided adhesive sheets. You're going to need the wiggle room of the glue to get everything to go perfectly together. So I highly recommend that for this process. Now put glue on every little piece so that everything in the frame is stuck down. It takes a second, but it's very much worth it because you won't have anything sticking up off your card when you are done. Just little dots of glue. You don't need much. Then align that with the corners. I like to just pick the top or the bottom corners to align it with, do any adjustment that you need to. You can pop a magnet on there if you have one of these glass board mats to hold that down, but that looks beautiful. Now this is great just like it is. You don't have to paper piece it. You're free people. But I'm going to paper piece it because this looks amazing. And I love black and white, and I love Zentangle. And somebody else has already done all the Zentangling for me. So it's just fun to use these coloring books. Now I'm going to show you a couple of options. You've seen some beautifully colored versions with this die this month when this die was released, and the team did some beautiful samples piecing, ink blended pieces in. You can watercolor, you can do all sorts of things. But the resolution of black and white is just so appealing to me. I had to do this. But if you first colored your coloring page, think how much fun this would be. It would be so cool to piece a colored page back into here. So think about that. And I sort of planned this as I was filming it, and I thought I would leave the main parts of the image white. I could always decide to go back and put a little bit of coloring book in them. But for example, you're seeing me leave the clouds white. I'll leave the sailboat white. I'll leave the lighthouse white. And then I'll see what it looks like at the end and see if I want to piece the entire thing. Now this piece that I'm holding is the largest piece you're going to have to piece in, so make sure you get glue covering all of it. There's a little skinny bit on the right-hand side of this piece. And I just start at one side, sort of fit those in, and then wiggle that paper around until everything is in there. Then just give it a good press to press it down, and it is good to go. Now, these sticky mats are not so sticky that they'll tear even this very thin coloring page paper. So you don't have to worry about that, but it holds it firmly enough that you can leave it in place while you're piecing. And see how much quicker this is than looking at a pile of die-cut shapes on your desk and wondering what spot they go into. So I can't praise this enough. So I'll pop these in here. Even with them in the right place, you can forget what you're doing and go to put it down in the wrong place. But this just makes it so much easier to find. Now, if you look at this image, you could color block each section of this image. So right now I'm doing the waves. You could just ink blend the coloring page so that the portion that had the waves on it was blue. You could have, a sunset type sky that you ink blended over this pattern. It would just be stunning. I mean, starting with something this detailed gives you so many possibilities for adding color. A little bit of trivia about black and white for you from one of my idols, Edward Tufte. The resolution of black on a white page, meaning printed text like a book, far exceeds, it's actually the highest resolution that you can get visually. So there is no screen in the world that's ever going to give you the resolution of black on a white page. And it's one of the reasons that when you see a really sharp graphic black and white card like this, that you're drawn to it, you're just seeing it better than you're seeing either digital images or images that have color in them. We actually have a little bias in our minds towards color. And so when we see something colored, we actually see the color first. We sort of perceive the color first because it's pleasing to our eye, and then we notice the other details second, like pattern and things like that. I was in lighting for a long time, and when you're in lighting, a lot of your training is about how the eye works. So I learned tons of completely useless trivia like this about the human eye. But if you get a chance to look up Tufte's books, he's great. It's all about visually displaying information, really informative. So I think I like it with this main elements of the design, white, but here's how it looks with some colors pieced into it. Red for the lighthouse, blue for the sailboat, kind of classic. But I left it black and white, and here is the finished card. So much fun, so bold, so different. Head over to the Hero Arts blog for more information, and thanks so much for watching.